So we need it to be able to process a little bit, at least start processing, and then we can have a response. So I'm very much about not letting the reaction become the response. Too often, the reaction is a survival reaction, and survival reactions are based on intense associations from the past, and it's most likely going to be the wrong thing. When you see people getting triggered or they lash out, or you can almost see it, the telling tension comes up. Sometimes they just interrupt. Those are survival reactions, and it could be something as simple as when they were 4 years old and they felt threatened, they blurted something out and the threat went away. This is what happens with dogs, right? You see dogs barking. A lot of times they bark like that at people because they found out that, gee, if I bark and growl, I create space because I really don't want these people petting me. And they create some space, and it works. And they may not be mean, aggressive dogs, but if they're doing that, they appear to be mean and aggressive. And eventually maybe the two come together. That's beyond what I want to talk about here. The point I'm making is that we don't know how these behaviors were learned. What we do know is that we can see them. And I'm painting the picture because if we're doing this 33,000 times a day, this is why I say the stimulus response cycles, we're not even aware of it. This is very similar to driving past an exit on the freeway. You drive right past your exit, don't even remember driving past the exit. Or you walk into a store and you don't even know why you're in the store. I mean, we have this stimulus reaction to response happening all the time. And what percentage of those, of the 33,000 is here? So if we're here and we're not doing the pause for the response, you can see why we have 95% of our actions are habitual. This leads back to what we're talking about today, which is innovation. Now, if you think about how things are so fractal, there's a thing, if you want to understand the macro, study the micro, that kind of thing, but it's very fractal. So the same way that a person's internal system is the external system of the cells, and this is why stress and all this resentment can cause illness, because you're putting your cells in a unhealthy environment. A cell that's threatened cannot pursue nutrients. So the cell has two configurations. Either it's pursuing nutrients, or it's in protective mode. It doesn't do both. So if you have a toxic environment, you're starving your cells of nutrients, which has obvious downstream effects. Well, similarly, an organization's internal environment is the external environment of the people in it. And if you have toxicity in the environment, which could come from mixed messages, it could come from not listening to people not feeling heard, it could come from perceived threats, perceived transgressions, or real. If you have toxicity in the internal environment, the external environment of the people is now impacted, and then you have challenges inside. So that's on the negative side. It works on the positive side as well. You want to get more from your people, create positive environments. This is back to the self-determination theory and intrinsic motivation. But if we take what we're saying, the 95% is by habit, and we could think of this as, we have this internal zone, we got this little internal zone, and people go through and they're doing their thing up and down, and sometimes they blip up and they get into this zone above here, and then they come back quickly, and sometimes they come down here, and then they come back and they get back into this zone. There's something else that's going on. There's another zone that's up here. And in here, we have reasons, we have excuses, we have stories, limiting beliefs,